Thank you. I'm not sure who wants to take a crack at this question. I've read about the short chains and the long chains, and you had mentioned them. Just for the committee and for the public, because we're being recorded, would one of you want to try to jump in and explain the difference between the long chain and the short chain, and how long they stick around or how they break down?
I'll defer to the toxicologist.
Sure. Okay, so first of all, the short chain versus the long chain speaks to the number of carbons there's kind of a carbon backbone, if you will, and then there's fluorines. And so the conventional wisdom is that the shorter the chain length, the kind of shorter the pharmacokinetics and the shorter the half-life is for the chemical. That's not entirely accurate. So to some degree that's true in rodents, but PFHxS is an example of a shorter chain C6, and I mentioned PFHxS before because it is still on the market. And that has a half-life that's equivalent to PFOA in humans. So there's some thinking that they would be shorter because they might be able to be more readily eliminated and have shorter half-lives. Some others have, again, shorter half-lives on the order of, like PFHxA is about 32 days. But again, 32 days is a long time. From a pharmaceutical standpoint, that's very long, until you're getting into something like a monoclonal antibody where we really know the target and there's a lot of safety built around it, right? Yeah. Did I answer the question? Did you get?
You did. I have a follow-up if you wouldn't mind. So when you said that there's some thinking that the shorter chains break down quicker, is that thinking what the chemical companies are telling us, that these shorter chains are somewhat safer because they're supposed to break down quicker?
Okay, so that's a tough question, but I'll say it to you this way. So I think that emerged as an initial wisdom, that because the chain lengths were shorter and the pharmacokinetics were often observed as being faster, especially in rodent models, that they're, quote, safer. But I really don't think that we really even still have enough evidence to completely comprehend that. The analytical methods have gotten better. We are now in the age of mass spectrometry where we're surveying tissues and all sorts of things for being able to detect these and at a sensitive level. So for example, PFOA and PFAS are very detectable in human blood. PFBS, which is much shorter, is less so, but it is detectable in livers from human post-mortem tissue. So it does accumulate, it's a matter of detection. And then there's issues about potency as well. So it's not clear, but that is the conventional wisdom, but it's not necessarily an entirely well described or accurate at this point. I don't think our understanding is nearly as thorough as with PFAS and PFOA.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sarah Valverde.
Would you be able to give us kind of the layman's explanation of what are the kind of detrimental biological effects that PFAS have on humans? How they actually negatively affect human health when they're ingested?
Okay. Well, I think there are multiple epidemiology studies that point to strong associations between exposure and certain health outcomes. So for example, a member of our research team out of Harvard has extensively studied in very controlled populations the levels of moms and children's blood for PFAS levels, and then looked at response to vaccine, and has reproducibly shown with more than one cohort that there's a kind of a positive association, meaning that as certain PFAS levels go up, like PFAS, PFOA, and PFHxS, that it's associated with a less robust response to vaccination. So that's one. So another example would be the C8 health study out of like the Ohio area, where it was mostly, PFOA. And those endpoints, when they did, it was a cohort of about 70,000 people and looked at health associations. And with those associations, that's where they found elevations in serum cholesterol, thyroid disease, testicular cancer, and I also think preeclampsia.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think there's some very overwhelming human data for PFAS and PFOA, and it's just taking time for the others, but they have many of the same biological characteristics. They hit the same targets within the cell. It's a matter of whether or not they're getting into the body at an appreciable level to make a difference, and I think I don't think the field knows enough yet to say yes or no.